The Curse of Shadow Lake. Deep in the heart of the woods stood Shadow Lake, its waters shimmering under the moon's pale glow. Legends whispered of an ancient witch who cursed the lake, trapping unsuspecting souls within its depths. Despite the warnings, a group of adventurous campers ventured into the woods, eager for a night of thrills. Setting up camp by the lake's edge, they laughed off the stories, dismissing them as mere superstition. As darkness fell, they gathered around the crackling campfire, sharing tales and roasting marshmallows. But as the night deepened, a chill settled over the camp, and unease crept into their laughter. Strange whispers began to drift through the trees, sending shivers down their spines and raising the hairs on their necks. Shadows danced along the edge of the clearing, moving with an otherworldly grace that froze the campers in terror. One by one, they turned their gazes towards the lake, where a dense fog was creeping eerily across the water. Suddenly, from the depths of the mist, a figure emerged, a spectral form with eyes that gleamed with malevolence. The campers gasped in horror as the apparition drew closer, its form shifting and morphing with each step. Desperate, they scrambled to douse the fire, hoping to hide from whatever haunted the darkness. But the flames refused to extinguish, flickering and dancing as if fueled by some unholy force. Panic gripped the campers as the whispers grew louder, filling their minds with dread and despair. In a frenzy, they huddled together, seeking solace in each other's trembling embrace. Yet even as they clung to one another, they knew that they were not alone in the woods. Shadows darted around them, taunting and teasing with unseen hands that brushed against their skin. A voice echoed through the night, cold and mocking, promising an eternity of torment and suffering. Terrified, the campers huddled closer, praying for the dawn to break and free them from this nightmare. But as the hours passed, hope dwindled, swallowed by the suffocating darkness that enveloped them. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the silence, echoing through the trees like a mournful wail. Hearts pounding, the campers turned towards the source of the sound, their eyes wide with terror. In the dim light, they saw a figure standing at the edge of the lake, its form distorted and twisted. With a guttural moan, the figure lurched towards them, its movements jerky and unnatural. Paralyzed with fear, the campers could only watch as the creature drew closer, its eyes burning with hunger. In a last desperate bid for survival, they fled into the woods, their screams swallowed by the night. Branches clawed at their skin as they ran, their lungs burning with exertion and fear. Yet no matter how fast they ran, the darkness seemed to swallow them whole, trapping them in its suffocating embrace. Tears streaked their faces as they stumbled through the undergrowth, their minds consumed by terror. And still, the whispers followed them, twisting and warping their thoughts until they could no longer trust their own senses. Lost and disoriented, they stumbled upon an ancient ruin hidden deep within the woods. With no other options left, they sought refuge within its crumbling walls, praying for sanctuary from the horrors outside. But even within the ruin, they could find no respite from the darkness that stalked them. Shadows danced along the walls, whispering tales of death and despair that sent shivers down their spines. Hours stretched into eternity as they cowered in the darkness, their minds fraying with each passing moment. And then, just when they thought they could bear no more, the whispers ceased, replaced by a deafening silence. Heart-pounding, they peered cautiously outside, half expecting to be greeted by the specters that haunted their nightmares. But to their surprise, the woods lay quiet and still, as if the horrors of the night had never existed. Slowly, cautiously, they emerged from their hiding place, blinking in the pale light of dawn. The air was crisp and clean, tinged with the scent of pine and earth, a stark contrast to the suffocating darkness of the night. Relieved, they gathered their belongings and made their way back to civilization, vowing never to return to Shadow Lake again. But even as they left the woods behind, they could not shake the feeling that something lingered in the shadows, waiting patiently for their return. And deep within the heart of the forest, a pair of eyes watched them go, gleaming with a hunger that would never be sated. For Shadow Lake was cursed, its waters a gateway to a realm of nightmares and despair. And though the campers had escaped with their lives, they would forever carry the scars of their encounter with the darkness that lurked within. So heed this warning, dear reader, and tread carefully in the woods, for you never know what horrors lie waiting in the shadows. And should you ever find yourself near Shadow Lake on a moonless night, pray that you have the strength to resist its siren call. For once you are ensnared in its grasp, there is no escape from the darkness that awaits. So gather close, children, and listen well to the tale of Shadow Lake and the curse that haunts its waters. For though it may seem like nothing more than a story, the truth is far more terrifying than you could ever imagine. And should you ever find yourself drawn to the woods, remember the fate of those who dared to defy the witch's curse. For in the end, the darkness always claims its own, and Shadow Lake waits patiently for its next victims. So beware the whispers in the night, and the shadows that dance in the moonlight, for they may be the last things you ever see. And remember, dear reader, that some tales are best left untold, lest they awaken something dark and terrible within us all. So lock your doors, and draw your curtains tight, for the night is long and full of terrors, and Shadow Lake is always watching. Sleep well, if you can, and pray that you never hear the whispers of the woods calling your name. For once you are ensnared in their grasp, there is no escape from the darkness that lurks within. And though you may try to forget, the memory of Shadow Lake will haunt your dreams for eternity. So beware, dear reader, and remember the curse of Shadow Lake, for it is a tale that should never be forgotten.